Every single day, hardworking professionals with pensions walk directly into one of the biggest hidden financial traps in retirement planning. They spend decades doing exactly what they were told to do. Max out the 401k, contribute consistently, delay gratification, count on Social Security, hope the final number is enough to survive retirement comfortably. For many people, that framework is reasonable. But if you're a pension holder, treating your retirement the same way everyone else treats theirs can become an incredibly dangerous mistake. Because the moment a pension enters the equation, the entire structure of retirement planning changes. But most pension holders continue operating under generic financial advice that was never built for someone in their position. That creates what I call the pension trap. I'm Josh Palmer, Director of Financial Planning with the Noble Group. The pension trap happens when someone spends decades building a valuable pension but never truly understands how powerful it is, how fragile certain decisions around it can be, or how dramatically it impacts the rest of their financial life. And unfortunately, many people don't realize they've fallen into this trap until it's far too late to fix it. Now, the first big danger pension holders face is something I call the distribution illusion. At retirement, your employer usually forces you into making a critical decision regarding how you will receive your pension benefits. On paper, the choices may look simple, but in reality, the consequences can be permanent and life-changing. What makes this especially dangerous is that many pension elections are irreversible. There's not a test drive, no redo, no opportunity to change your mind 5 years later after circumstances change. Once the paperwork is signed, the decision is often locked in for life. And this is where people unknowingly expose themselves and their families to massive financial risk. For example, many retirees naturally gravitate towards the single life annuity option because it offers the highest monthly income. At first glance, it feels like the obvious choice. You get a bigger monthly check. That creates more spending power and more comfort. But what many people fail to fully process is what happens after the pension holder passes away. Because in many cases, that income disappears entirely. Imagine a household relying heavily on that pension income for mortgage payments, healthcare costs, utilities, groceries, and daily living expenses. Then suddenly, one spouse dies, and thousands of dollars per month instantly vanish. The surviving spouse is left trying to maintain the same lifestyle with dramatically reduced income. That often forces them to liquidate investments more aggressively, reduce their standard of living, or completely restructure their retirement plans during one of the most emotionally difficult seasons of life. On the other side of the spectrum, some retirees become nervous about the pension system itself. They worry about the company's long-term stability, fear inflation, or simply want more control over their assets. So they elect the lump sum distribution. And while that can absolutely make sense in certain situations, many people underestimate the weight of responsibility they are taking on. The moment you choose the lump sum, you become responsible for investment management, market volatility, withdrawal sequencing, tax planning, inflation management, and portfolio sustainability for the rest of your life. That's a massive responsibility, and one that if you've elected that, we can help you with. Why is professional help a good thing? If the portfolio experiences a severe downturn early in retirement while withdrawals are simultaneously occurring, it can permanently damage the longevity of the account. This is known as sequence of returns risk, and it becomes especially dangerous during the first several years of retirement. Many retirees think that they are gaining freedom by taking the lump sum. In reality, they may simply be transferring all of the risk from the employer onto themselves. This is why pension decisions should never be made emotionally or casually. They require thoughtful analysis, personalized modeling, and a complete understanding of how the pension interacts with every other piece of the financial plan. Let me show you what this can look like in the real world. Recently, Robert and Linda came into our office. Robert had spent over 30 years working for the same company. Through decades of service, he had accumulated a pension that would provide roughly $4,000 per month for life. Combined with Social Security, they were looking at approximately $7,000 per month in guaranteed income before touching a single dollar of their investment accounts. Now, from the outside, that sounds incredibly secure. But emotionally, Robert did not feel secure at all. In fact, he was terrified to retire. He believed he needed to continue working another 5 years because he had built this arbitrary mental target value for his 401k. In his mind, if he did not hit that number, retirement would fail. This is an incredibly common psychological trap. News reports and online personalities have convinced many people to focus solely on the size of their investment accounts, and as a result, they completely fail to recognize the economic value of their pension income stream. When we sat down and ran the numbers, I explained something to Robert that completely changed his perspective. A pension paying $4,000 per month for 20 years with a modest 3% cost of living adjustment annually can mathematically resemble having well over $720,000 in present value dollars, and its future value is just past $1.3 million. In other words, Robert was already sitting on a massive retirement asset. He just did not perceive it that way because it was not displayed as a giant account balance on a statement every month. That realization alone completely transformed how he viewed retirement. Instead of feeling behind, he realized he was already financially stronger than many retirees with significantly larger portfolios but no guaranteed income. But that was only the beginning of the conversation, because as we dug deeper, we discovered a much larger problem hiding beneath the surface. Robert planned to elect the single life annuity option because he wanted to maximize the monthly payout. He viewed it as the best deal because it produced the largest check. What he had not fully considered was the impact on Linda if something happened to him early in retirement. This is another big danger for pension holders and their spouses. Because if Robert passed away first, Linda would instantly lose that $4,000 monthly pension payment. Overnight, her income structure would fundamentally change. The burden of maintaining her lifestyle would fall almost entirely on their investment accounts. That could have created enormous long-term stress on the portfolio and significantly increase the probability of running out of money later in life. So instead of blindly choosing the highest payment option, we modeled multiple scenarios. We analyzed survivorship needs. We evaluated their health profiles. We stress tested different market environments. We looked at tax consequences. We examined legacy goals for their children. Ultimately, we helped them structure a more balanced strategy that aimed to protect Linda while still maintaining a strong retirement income. And perhaps most importantly, we discovered one more hidden issue. Because Robert had such a large guaranteed income floor from his pension and Social Security, they were investing the rest of their portfolio far too conservatively. This is extremely common. Many retirees with pensions unknowingly build portfolios as though they had no guaranteed income whatsoever. They overload on bonds, cash equivalents, and ultra-conservative investments because they are emotionally afraid of market volatility. But ironically, the pension itself often already functions similarly to a large bond allocation. That means some pension holders may actually have the ability to take more long-term growth exposure within portions of their investment accounts than they initially realize. Without enough growth, inflation slowly erodes purchasing power over time. What feels comfortable today may become restrictive 15 or 20 years later as healthcare costs, housing expenses, insurance premiums, and daily living costs continue rising. By recalibrating Robert and Linda's portfolio with their pension properly incorporated into the overall plan, we were able to create a more balanced approach between managing risk, growth, income, and long-term flexibility. And that's the key point. A pension is not just another retirement account. It's a foundational piece of the financial plan that changes everything around it. Unfortunately, many people never receive comprehensive guidance around these decisions. They receive a packet from HR, a few generic payout illustrations, and are expected to make one of the largest financial decisions of their lives almost entirely on their own. But HR departments are not personal retirement planners. Their role is to administer benefits, not engineer customized retirement strategies designed around your family's long-term goals. The reality is that pension planning involves far more than simply choosing the biggest number on a form. It involves taxes, it involves survivorship planning, it involves healthcare considerations, it involves inflation protection, it involves portfolio design, it involves withdrawal sequencing, it involves legacy planning. And because many of these decisions are permanent, mistakes can become incredibly costly. This is your retirement. These are your life savings. These are the years you worked decades to build toward. But you only get one opportunity to make these decisions correctly. That's why personalized planning matters so much. At the Noble Group, we help families analyze these complex decisions from every angle so that they can move into retirement with clarity and confidence instead of fear and uncertainty. So click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. We'll take a look at your unique situation for free so you can have confidence you're making the right decision. We'll talk to you soon.